plan. What are your views on this plan, and if you support the idea, would you be willing to commit to implementing this plan within your first term as mayor?
Thank you, Chris. I believe that one-lane proposition would bring a change that is much needed for downtown Main Street. I think it's a move in the right direction and generate a positive traffic pattern that'll benefit both pedestrians and businesses. From what I'm told, and my experience as well, it's somewhat of an adventure and a challenge to cross Main Street at the height of the traffic hour with the two lanes as they exist today. So I think that's certainly a worthy proposal and one that we have to strongly consider. I'm told that the bump outs and bike lane from Destare to City Hall, I like that approach. I'm told by Jay Bry at Fitchburg State that he's got some concrete flower boxes that can serve as bump outs until the city's prepared to move forward with a more permanent structure. The project has a number of moving parts. I'd need to sit down and talk to the stakeholders who are involved and city departments before committing. But believe me, the proposal makes sense, and I hope we can implement it.
Representative DiNatale, thank you again for joining us here tonight. My next question is, a recent Boston Globe article highlighted that in Fitchburg, 1 in 4 homes is underwater. In other words, people owe more on their home than it's worth. As mayor, what would you do about this, and which community and state partners would you engage?
Thank you, Tricia. Some of the larger mega banks, I had a conversation today with one of my friends in the banking community. Some of those mega banks, those very, very large banks, were overly aggressive in their loan procedures. That, coupled with the drop in the housing market, created this situation. These banks were lending properties that were under 100% value. They were lending at 100% and sometimes 110% of the value of the home. Responsible banks don't usually fall into this category. As the mayor, what I can do is promote economic development, the old raising all boats concept, which can act as, in a way that this would be a long-term solution, increasing the tax base with commercial and industrial growth through rezoning. The mayor can act as an advocate for homeowners, and I think this is the real key issue for the mayor, because this issue in and of itself is far-reaching. It's national, it's international. But as the mayor, you can act as an advocate for those homeowners when they've been affected by illegal banking activity and practices. What I could do, and again, being the state representative for the last 9 years, what I would do is activate some of those relationships that I've made, particularly the Attorney General's office. The Attorney General has been out, when Martha Coakley was Attorney General, she came out on several occasions to talk about the foreclosure crisis and how it was impacting the city of Fitchburg. And again, the fact that some of these banking practices are illegal is something that we would drive, I certainly would drive as the mayor. I think what we need to also do is identify where these properties exist and encourage those homeowners to contact our housing department in the city that can help with providing financial assistance with rehab projects such as, and a huge project in the city of Fitchburg has been for years, the de-leading initiative. In the FY 2010 budget, I was the lead sponsor to restore and fully fund the Get the Lead Out program at $4 million. The CDBG housing program and the Home Investment Partnership programs, both essential sources of funding for critical renovations and rehab projects in Fitchburg, count on the GTLO program to provide matching grants. I'd work closely and coordinate efforts with the Community Development Corporation, Massachusetts Opportunity Council, Department of Housing, Chamber of Commerce, and local banking and finance groups. We'll inform and educate home buyers, and especially first-time home buyers, with foreclosure counseling and provide guidance and assistance in the mortgage phase of their home ownership. We should look into the Mass Housing Loan and Finance Program at the state level that provides counseling and assistance with refinancing and loans for those first-time home buyers. We need to reinvest in the city, reinvest in our neighborhoods and the schools, and moreover, make us a business-friendly city. So that's how I would approach that problem. Thank you.
Representative DiNatale, in what way would you market Fitchburg to encourage potential business owners, developers, and home buyers to invest in our city?
The mayor has to be the chief marketer, and I would commit to that. Work in conjunction with the city's economic development director, a key position in the city. Lead on business outreach, one-on-one meetings with business owners, and an open-door policy to relay concerns and needs. Be present, as I am now as the state representative, at all ribbon cuttings. Engage local media to the fact that we have positive growth in the city of Fitchburg. The city's website, which is undergoing a rehab, must be emphasized. It has to speak about what Fitchburg has to offer. The current revamping of that site must serve as a one-stop shopping proposal for prospective residents and businesses. I'd like to also explore production of an online video and also explore the cost associated with the local TV media outlets and start marketing the city of Fitchburg and talking about the good things that we do here and the great opportunities that exist. Thank you.
The Reimagine North of Main initiative will focus on creating a network of engaged residents in the north of Maine. As mayor, how will you engage residents to provide meaningful input in your decision-making?
Thank you, Trish. I'd like the advisory committee to have additional meetings open to the public, which I think they're already doing. They brought on a community engagement professional, Bill Trainer. I'm referring to that meeting that was held at the Senior Center several months ago. I thought it was extraordinarily well attended. It really hit the mark, brought people from the neighborhood, not just the neighborhood that's affected, but people within the city who are concerned as well. I think we need to we need to do that on a regular basis, and I think they are. We need to reiterate the vision, a place where residents and business owners want to live, work, play, and invest. The mayor can ensure that representation on the coalitions and committees and boards within the city is reflective of our community and stresses the need to be a contributor. A contributor. You all remember the words of John F. Kennedy, ask not what your country can do for you. I'm not going to finish it because I think we all know how that ends up. I'd also try to coordinate, bring people in organizations like Three Pyramids, United Neighbors of Claygon, the fact-based community as well, and Centros Americas, with my good friend Juan Gomez, just across the street here. We need to coalesce, bring them together, and drive those issues to help all of us. But again, contributors is what we're asking for. People who will contribute to getting to yes and to making the city better.
Representative DiNatale, what steps would you take to ensure a business-friendly environment in City Hall and within the city in general?
Thanks, Chris. As I mentioned, Fitchburg's currently overhauling the city's website. We have to make this website user-friendly and enhance it as a marketing tool for those prospective businesses. And also we need to review how that site is maintained. Comprehensive streamlining of the city's permitting process. An emphasis in the building department on educating contractors and owners of properties for specific tasks and deficiencies by the building department. We need to stop requiring prospective business people to have to go out and get an architectural study. It's a resource burden that takes away from them being successful as that business owner. Our goal must be to get to yes. The mayor must set the example for a cultural change within City Hall and all city departments. And that cultural change is based on a simple phrase, be nice. Just be nice. Comprehensive review of building and zoning regulations in conjunction with the building department, the Board of Health, the zoning board, planning board, and where applicable, reform in the city code to remove onerous regulations and red tape.
How would you utilize the city's departments to better improve the quality of life in our neighborhoods?
I think I just mentioned that, but once again, it bears repeating. It's still in all departments an approach to concern for customer service, true customer service, because you are the customers, and the customer is always right. Our door is open for business, and we need to and must get to yes. City Hall must be approachable. I'll be calling upon our Board of Health and Department of Public Works to help improve our neighborhoods. There'll be a commitment with workforce that's going to be required in this. And with that, very, very tough decisions that are going to have to be made on the budgetary side. We're also going to have to take a hard look at our public safety departments, both fire and police. And we're going to need to see what we can do about increasing the numbers in those departments. We need to provide residents with a feeling of being safe. That's critical.
Representative DiNatale, this is the last of our prepared questions. In what ways would you utilize the city's creative economy to help revitalize Main Street and the city's overall economic future?
Again, I'll work closely with the CDC, the Art Museum, the Historical Society, the Artist Colony that's being proposed at B.F. Brown. With the B.F. Brown project in particular, but also the North of Main, which is a great initiative, and I'm hoping great things from that. When that, I believe there'll be collateral generating of new businesses as a result of this artist housing. Shopping, dining, walking areas, places where people will want to come downtown. We're hoping to generate that kind of an interest.
Well, thank you very much. That's the end of the prepared questions. We are now ready for audience questions, and I will stress, if you are not comfortable with the microphone, just yell out your question. Let me first get my attention, and I will repeat the question if we cannot hear it up front. I see my left-hand corner, we've got a question again.
Steve, great job on the answers, and thank you very much for the information.
Thank you, Joe.
I didn't write this question down. I'm hoping I asked the same question I asked Andrew earlier, so I'm going to do this completely by memory. If we look across the street here, this building in darkness, the gentleman that owns that is spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to create a new business on Main Street. Chris, with Destare, has been here how many years, Chris?
9.
And downstairs?
5.5.
5.5 years. He's stuck it out. We have the wine cellar next door, which is now called Back Streets. So we have 4 businesses right in this general area. I'll tell you a story. Last year, my wife and I, a friend of ours was playing in Back Streets. We came down here on one of the coldest winter nights I've ever seen. And we parked on Boulder Drive. The snow berms were so high, my wife was having trouble opening her door. When she got out of the door, the sidewalks weren't clear. We were trying to cross the street. It was cold, windy, dark, and there was a film of ice on the street. And there was traffic. And we're carefully trying to cross the street without getting hit. When we crossed the street, we looked inside the parking garage, which is right here. That parking garage holds over 100 cars. There were 13 cars in that lot that night. There's a gate on it that the treasurer's office put up, and it's closed. The only people that can go in there who rent spots. I'm on the city council. I'm the chair of the parking committee, and it's in a year, working with Pride, working with the parking committee, I have not been able to open that gate so that these 3 businesses, now 4 businesses, plus the other restaurants on Main Street, could have safe parking for their customers. So my question to you, my experience in city government, the parking committee had no authority, The city council has no authority. The only person that could open that gate and make it available for customers is the mayor. So as the mayor, would you support that idea? And what can we do to further help these businesses in this area?
Thank you, Joel. I noticed the parking commission. I know just about everyone on there, with the exception of one person. I probably know who he is as well. But yeah, that's disturbing to hear that. Those are the obstacles that impact on people like Chris, gentleman across the street, from really effectively maintaining their businesses. I had a meeting very briefly today with the treasurer regarding both parking garages, and rather revealing conversation. The parking garages are in, one in particular has a number of issues, structural issues. This is not one of them next door. But what I left the meeting with him, hopefully gaining the assurance that we will certainly sit down with the commission and the treasurer and decide how we can collaborate with the city businesses, with these folks and the parking garage people, because I believe I was told the issue seems to be those spots are held by people that live at, is it 470 Main Street? But there's got to be a way where we can reach some kind of a compromise where the weekends you can secure some of those vacant slots. But I think the bottom line, Joel, is that we need to sit down and have this conversation. And as I mentioned before, getting to yes. This is one of those we have to get to yes on this. We've got to come to a decision and come to a compromise where we can make both the city and the private business person successful. So I would commit to that, certainly.
Thank you. Any other questions from the audience? Yes.
Thank you, Representative DiNatale, for backing the One Main Street. I think it's going to be really great for businesses here, and I think it'll open up a lot of opportunities. A question I had, I'm a community organizer, and I work in the Clayton neighborhood, but throughout the city, and I keep hearing a lot that public transportation is an issue. People aren't able to get to work, they're not able to get to doctor's appointments. So as mayor, what would you do to address our public transportation needs?
We had a meeting with stakeholders about 2 months ago at Leominster Hospital, actually. I don't know if you were there. Right. And that seemed to be the number one issue. And it was one that I found to be extraordinary in that it's easily solvable. I've had conversations with Mo Khan, Phil Rocker as well, at Mark, and they've assured me that they're looking at this. They're trying to add more buses, and not so much the buses, but the routes and the times of day and night. Those are critical. I believe it's achievable that we get to a point where we can accommodate those people that need to get to work, because that certainly is what drives the economy. We want people to get back and forth from their jobs to their homes. So I certainly would commit to that, continuing that discussion and that dialogue with Mark, and if need be, applying even more pressure, because I think it's that important. Thank you for your question.
Any other questions from the audience? All right, one in the corner. Would you like to come on up?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Thank you for answering my question. I had another question, but it all forms off of how diverse the city is, and I think it's great you want to make us all feel safe. But I was wondering how you would help the community, as diverse it is, socioeconomically, culturally, how you're going to how you're going to outreach to those areas.
I just had a meeting with Adrian Ford at Three Pyramids last week. And Adrian and I have known each other for a number of years. I think he's done a wonderful job. He's been here for forever, it seems like. And we talked about the diversity of the city of Fitchburg. some little-known facts I wasn't aware of, that the highest growing minority population in the state and the city is the Chinese population, which I found to be extraordinarily, I didn't think that was the case. He also is a facility that provides a space for our Hmong community. And I told him that that is something that I have to admit I've been remiss in. I need to do a better outreach to the Hmong community. So in that light, I'll be meeting with them in a few weeks at the center. They have a section of the center at the Three Pyramids facility where they meet. And I'm going to be meeting some of the key players and key individuals in that community. And you know the best way to attack that problem is jobs. Is getting people to work, getting the economic engine going in the city of Fitchburg through industrial and commercial growth. And this is where we have to look at our zoning maps. We have to take a look and see what we can look at and say, if this is a residential area that no longer is really residential, we need to move forward and make it commercial or industrial. We've got to take some bold steps. Those bold steps are going to be controversial. But there's steps that we have to take if we're going to improve everyone's lives. And the way to do that is get people to work, real jobs. And that's what I'm hoping to get the opportunity to do.
Do we have any other questions? Yes.
Hi,
Hi.
Christina Gonzalez. Very
Christina, how are
familiar
you?
with you. I guess my question was around employment, which we're speaking about, but more related to the youth population. I want to know what is your commitment level in supporting summer jobs, internships, and things of that sort for the youth in our community?
You know, I've always thought that we could do a better job in the city of bringing some of the young folks in during those summer jobs and internships, unpaid and paid, hopefully unpaid, more unpaid than paid. We've had interns, myself in my office. My aide Joan is here tonight. We've had some great people working in my office. We've been fortunate in that respect. I hope to work with you to be the conduit as an outreach to those young folks, and to have regular meetings with them and talk about what they need, what their needs are, what their hopes are, and how I can help to facilitate that.
Thank you.
We have 5 minutes left, so we do have time for another question. Yes. Would you like to come up? Or
I'll just be loud.
okay.
Hey, Kelly.
So you spoke of jobs. What do you think it is that is keeping the businesses on Main Streets and storefronts at?
I know exactly what it is.
Steve, excuse me one second.
Yeah.
Did everybody hear that out back? The question.
Sure, go ahead. Yeah.
The question was storefronts. Kelly, please let me make sure if I get this correct. What would you do to, why do we feel that there's so many vacant storefronts on Main Street? Is that your question?
Yes.
Okay.
I've been told, thank you, Kelly, by the way, I've been told by real estate folks, by developers, by contractors, there are a couple of contractors in the room tonight, that we have a very, and I mentioned it earlier, a very onerous permitting process. And I'm not sure why that is. And I'm not suggesting we should skirt regulations. But as part of North of Main project, as an example, with Mary Jo Bohart's efforts in putting together a business registry, or a building registry of downtown, and with that, in a triage fashion, determine where the needs are in each building. So we can make that available to prospective buyers, renters, real estate folks. But one of the biggest problems is the permitting side of things, and some of the buildings, I think Chris could attest to this as well. The buildings are old, and for you to occupy them and to become ADA compliant, those most expensive of components are what you're going to have to tackle, which is bathrooms. And if you're going to have more than one level, you've got to have access to that second level. Those are the most costly upgrades that you have to do. Kitchens, that kind of thing, if you're talking about a restaurant. So what we can do, I know that I've worked with Jay Ash, the Secretary of Housing and Economic Development. Matter of fact, he's going to be out here in about a week or so. Talked to some of his undersecretaries who've committed to help the city with trying to work within the regulations, but to make them a bit more flexible, to where we can look at a property, for instance, that's worth X number of dollars. If your upgrades are below 25% of the overall value, you're not required in that first year to make that upgrade. it gives an opportunity for a business owner to see how they're doing. Give them a year to work on it, see if they're making a buck. And if they are in the second year, they'll have to make those upgrades. I think that's a nice compromise, and it's one that I think we need to explore really, really hard.
We may have time for one quick question. Yes.
Hello. As far as bringing business to this downtown Fitchburg, as a resident of over 40 years in the city of Fitchburg, Fitchburg's Main Street used to be beautiful. You had every store, every type of store, filled with people walking back and forth. One of my suggestions, and it's done in many cities and towns, is take your parking meters from the main street. Have parking elsewhere. You've got your parking garages. You can charge there. But people may want to go into a store and come right out. That's one way to make downtown Fitchburg friendly. Secondly, one of the ways also is to offer tax credits for new businesses coming to the city of Fitchburg. You don't have to offer them, we're not New York and other larger cities, but tax credits work, and it's one way to introduce businesses to the city.
Thank you. The tax credit issue, there's a tax increment financing committee that gets together, and city council has the say in that. But the mayor can be a driver of that, and I agree that that's something that is not given out, lightly. They have to be assessed and gauged as to whether or not the city can absorb that kind of a tax decrease. So, but you're right, if it's generating a new business, it's a benefit in the long run. The parking meter, that sounds like a parking commission question. Joel? Bill McShee? Member of the parking commission? Yeah, I've got all your names right here, I've got them all. But that's been a perennial issue of the city council. When I was on the council, it was an issue. To demeter or not to demeter, that was the question. So that's something that we should explore, and I'm sure they will.
Thank you all very much. We are out of time. I would like to thank State Representative DiNatale for his time this evening, and Mr. Couture for his time this evening. And I want to thank you all very much for attending. You're a great audience, and we really do appreciate it. I'd like to thank my co-host tonight, Tricia. You did a wonderful job. Thank you very much for taking the pressure off. We really do appreciate it. Thank you all very much again.